This video we're going to take a look at Mike Oldfield on Virgin Records between the release of Tubular Bells in 1973 to the final album for Virgin, Heaven's Open, in 1991. This is Tubular Bells. It was released in 1973. It was the very first release on the newly launched Virgin label. It was launched by Richard Branson. V 2001, the very first catalogue number. Produced by Tom Newman, Simon Hayward and Mike Oldfield. Recorded at the Manor Studio, England, 1972. Mike played more or less everything on this. There is drums and stuff like that and a few other things that he didn't play on. Right, this is a masterpiece. It's his masterpiece. Some beautiful music on this, and yeah, it's kind of got an orchestral, classical feel to it in some ways, but it's still in the rock vein because of all the instruments he's using. This is a picture disc. I think this one was released in 78 or something like that, I'm not sure. Some of these pressings have an aeroplane noise at the end. This one doesn't. Hergus Ridge. This was released in 1974. This was the follow-up to Tubular Bells. Another great album. Much more subtle in part 1. And part 2 then has the 1000 guitars, I call it. It's quite bombastic, but overall it's a good album. Quite different from Tubular Bells. And you get the old Virgin label here. Beautiful. Next up is the Orchestral Tubular Bells. This was released in early 1975. It's not technically a Mike Oldfield album, composed by Mike, but arranged for orchestra by David Bedford. He was an avant-garde composer. Mike worked with him on a few things as well. Performed by the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. Mike does play guitar. Well, that's the end of the album. Side 1, I think, or something. I can't remember. I don't really listen to it that much. It's just an oddity, really. Not something that's essential in your collection by any means, but it's just nice to have it. You can pick this up really cheap. This is actually an 80s pressing. Next up is the Mighty Amadone. This was released in 1975. This is another great album. I think the first 3 albums are kind of a trilogy. Nothing on the back here. This has got African drums and stuff on it, and English folk music and a bit of Celtic stuff thrown in there as well. Yeah, I like this one. Amadone is quite powerful. There's some brilliant guitar on it. Mike's guitar around this time sounds fantastic. Paddy Maloney from the Chieftains also plays in part 2, which is very beautiful. Next up is Boxed. This was released in 1976. This is a remix of Tubular Bells, Hergus Ridge and Amadone, and they're mixed in quad, which was quadraphonic. You had to put a special decoder box between your turntable and the amplifier, and Bob's your uncle. It's the mixes are slightly different. Hergus Ridge is noticeable. Actually, this mix of Hergus Ridge was used on all subsequent vinyl masterings and CDs from here on. Mike preferred it for some reason. So yeah, this is his house in Bisley, Throwham Slad, the manor, I think. It was owned by the Cadbury's family. You'll see that in videos from the time. Portsmouth and in Dulce Jubilo. This one has this one also has a disc, an extra, and it has Fish and Games with David Bedford, Extraction Stars End with Bedford, the Rio Grande, Bedford. They're from albums by Bedford. Inside 2 is the First Excursion. That's a collaboration between Oldfield and Bedford. Argiers, that's traditional Oldfield. Portsmouth, traditional Oldfield. In Dulce Jubilo, it's another arrangement by Mike. And Speak, Though You Only Say Farewell, that's Mike singing a love song, and it's quite funny. This is cool, definitely worth getting your hands on. Each album comes in a different coloured sleeve. Tubular Bells. I guess Reaches the green one. Amadone is here. Collaborations. Yeah, so a nice item, and certainly worth getting your hands on. Next up is Incantations. This was released in 1978. This is a double LP. In 4 parts. This is a great album. I like this album. Yeah, it's quite unique. There's some great guitar work again on it, and you have Pierre Marlin from the band Gong playing vibraphones and stuff like that. Vocals by Maddie Pryor on the Hiawatha interpretation. That was a poem by Longfellow. Very beautiful again. That's your label. Looks quite cool. Yeah, I like Incantations. It's great album. Some beautiful melodies and music on it. Next up is Xposed. This was Mike's first live album. It was recorded on the European tour in the spring of 1979. The titles for the tracks aren't actually written at all on the sleeve. There's some great photographs there. This has been released on DVD back in 2005, I think, from the Wembley Conference Centre. Certainly worth getting your hands on. I think the video is definitely better than the album. Although I like the album as well. What you have is Incantations parts 1 to 4 on the first disc, and there's some photographs on the labels as well, which look really nice. And on the second LP you have Tubular Bells part 1, and flipping over part 2. Then Guilty is at the end of this. It was a single by Mike. It's based on the opening melody of Incantations, the 9 notes that the girls chant at the start. This is actually a quadraphonic copy, although I've never heard quadraphonic. This was actually reissued in 2016 on double LP again, and not CD unfortunately. Next up is Platinum. This was released in late 1979. I like this one. I call it Mike's Disco album. Side 1 is fantastic. You've got Platinum parts 1 to 4. Side 2 is a bit weaker. Woodhinge, that's a very mellow piece. I think it's from the mid-70s. Sally, that's actually Into Wonderland on this one. Sally, the original version, was cut off the LP after some initial pressings, but Sally is still written on this here, but it was replaced with Into Wonderland. That's the version on this. Into Wonderland is absolutely appalling. It's one of the worst things he's done. Sally is a little bit better. It's got guitar from Airborne in it. Overall, pretty nasty, ghastly. Punkadiddle, that's fantastic. And then I Got Rhythm. The old Gershwin Chestnut. some session musicians on this. It's good album, I like it. Platinum, you've got Airborne, Platinum, Charleston, North Star, Platinum, Finale. Righty ho, next up is Airborne. This is the US version of Platinum, and this one is quite cool and definitely worth getting your hands on if you can track it down. Side 1 again, Platinum, Airborne, Platinum, Charleston, North Star. That's the same as the UK version, but on side 2 they've put Guilty here, which is great. And Into Wonderland is on this now, obviously the horrible track. Punkadiddle, I Got Rhythm. And then there's an extra disc here with Tubular Bells Part 1, and that was recorded on the European tour March, April 1979. And it's not the version from Xposed, it's shorter, it's fantastic as well, it sounds fantastic. But you have John Gorman, comedian, as the Master of Ceremonies, so yeah, definitely worth getting your hands on. And then Strange Thing, Incantations Studio and Live. This was part of the studio version of Incantations and the live version. So yeah, bit of a novelty really. So it's certainly, you know, it's definitely one for collectors. Next up is Impressions. This was a mail order compilation from 1980 on the Teledisc label. Again, worth tracking down. It is definitely worth tracking down. So, first disc has got Tubular Bells Part 1, and that's live from the European tour. That's more or less certain that's the version from Xposed. It's the same length as well. It's nearly 30 minutes. Side 2 is Amadone Part 1, and that's the studio version. But here, the second LP is very interesting. You got Airborne, Platinum, Charleston, Punkadiddle. There's no North Star here. And then I Got Rhythm. That's a live version, but you can't hear any crowds. I think it was from May 1980. That's Wendy Roberts on vocals again, I think. But that is a live version. So fans will definitely want that. And then the fourth side is really good because you got Guilty, Pipe Tune. That's stuff from around Incantations time. Dulce Jubilo, Recorder Rondo. That's another one that you won't have on an album. Cuckoo Song. That's Mike and Leslie Penning. On Horseback, just on its own. Portsmouth, Sailor's Hornpipe. So this is definitely worth getting. If you can get your paws on it. It only ever came out on LP and cassette. There's been no CD reissue or anything like that. I recommend that you get this one. Next up is QE2. This is from 1980. This was a kind of a change from Mike. The tracks here are pretty short, and there's some covers on the album as well. The only long one here is Taurus 1. It kind of meanders a little bit in the middle. Yeah, this album is well, like I just find that this hasn't got enough out of bass on it. It's produced by David Hinchell. You've Sheba, Conflict, Arrival. That's a cover of an ABBA instrumental from their Arrival album in 1976. Wonderful Land, that's another cover, The Shadows, Mirage, QE2, Celt and Molly. Yeah. Phil Collins plays drums on Taurus 1, also on Sheba, but he's got a band here that he used in the subsequent tours after this. Tim Cross, Mike Fry, Morris Pert, fantastic musicians. I love the artwork on this album, and that's really nice. And it's slightly raised up as well. So, you know, it feels like the life buy. Really, really tasty. Great graphics. 5 out of 5 for graphics. Next up is QE2. No, there wasn't two different covers at the time. This one was from 1982. It was released in the GDR, the German Democratic Republic, East Germany. It's exactly the same content, but it's just got a different sleeve. Pressed by Amiga. It's really nice. I only got this recently. I just thought I might as well have it. So there's a bit of spiel about Mike there, but I can't read German. I don't know what they're actually saying. This one is in absolutely fantastic condition. Looks like it's unplayed, and it sounds fantastic. So there you go. The alternate QE2. Next is a compilation, Mike Oldfield's Wonderland. This was released in Netherlands in 1981. Again, a collector's piece. Everything on here has been released before except Blue Peter. That's actually a remix as well from the original single. I think the original single ended suddenly, and it used to catch a lot of radio DJs off guard. So yeah, it was redone, and the end then is a little bit more, it leads into the end rather than cutting off. There's actually a thing on YouTube about that on Blue Peter from 1979. But this is nice, you know, it's got Guilty Live on it. The excerpts from Tubular Bells have been released on other compilations. Amadone, Incantations. Yeah. So there you go. That's in Dutch, so I don't know what it says. I wish I could read it. And here you have a well signed label. Music Wonderland. This is another compilation. This is from West Germany this time. Aus der Funk und Fancy Wervel. I love the cover on this, it's really cool. Again, you can pick this up quite cheaply. This has got more tracks than the Dutch pressing. Arrival, Portsmouth, Sheba, Blue Peter. Extract from Tubular Bells, Sailor's Hornpipe, and Punkadiddle. Wonderful Land, in Dulce Jubilo, Extract from Amadone on Horseback, Guilty Live, North Star Platinum Finale. This was actually released on compact disc as well. I think around 84 or 85. Another one that collectors definitely want to own, even if it's for the cover alone. Next up again from 81 is Xposed. This was released in France. Amadone Extract, Tubular Bells Extract, Incantations Extracts. So there's 2 tracks from that. Side 2, Hargis Ridge Extract, Platinum. You got Airborne, Punkadiddle. From QE2, Sheba, Arrival, Celt, and Portsmouth. This is nice. I like this one. Great artwork on it as well. And you get the catalogue here. That looks fantastic. Next up is 5 Miles Out. This was released in 1982. This is another great album. I love the artwork here. Have a tracking sheet. This album has got one long side, Taurus 2. And then on the second side it's got Family Man, which is a short single with Maggie Riley on vocals. Arabadoo is another kind of long piece, about 13 minutes. It's a bit ambient, it's nice. Mount Tide and 5 Miles Out, which is a brilliant single again. The band on this album are also cracking. Morris Peart percussion keyboards, Tim Cross keyboards, Rick Fenn guitars. Paddy Maloney appears here again on the uilleann pipes on Taurus 2. Mike Fry percussion, Carl Palmer percussion on Mount Teedie, and Graham Broad drums on 5 Miles Out. Yeah, I like it. The orchestrations are by Martin Ford. Next up is Crises. This is from 1983. That was a celebration of Mike being 10 years in the business. I think he turned 30 as well. Again, Crises is one long side. The track itself, Crises, and then the second side has got Moonlight Shadow, which was a big hit. Vocals by Maggie Riley again. In High Places, that's got vocals by John Anderson. Foreign Affair, Maggie Riley. Taurus 3. It's a short kind of Spanish acoustic style piece, which is quite cool. And then Shadow on the Wall has vocals by Roger Chapman. Simon Phillips, the legendary drummer, works with Mike on this album, and it's fantastic. He's a cracking drummer, and the drum sounds are great. Discovery, Who Has the Chance to Know It All. This was released in 1984. Mike started using Fairlight here quite a lot. I like this album. It's good. To France, that was a big hit. Maggie Riley on vocals. Poison Arrows, that has Barry Palmer on vocals. Crystal Gazing, that's Maggie. Tricks of the Light, it's kind of a duet between Maggie and Barry Palmer. Discovery, it's kind of a heavy track, kind of grinding along like a bulldozer. Talk About Your Life, Saved by a Bell, kind of a bit weaker. And then The Lake, I love The Lake. Lake is fantastic. I love when it says recorded in the Swiss Alps at 2,000 metres within sight of Lake Geneva on sunny days. This is the DMM as well, Direct Metal Master Pressing. You always know them because they've got no kind of lip edge on the vinyl. They're flat. That's nice as well. Some photographs from the sessions. The house. Yeah, in the Alps. Must have been good fun. There you go. Also from 1984 is the original film soundtrack for The Killing Fields. This is one I wouldn't listen to that much. A lot of Fairlight in here. A lot of experimenting and stuff as well. There's some strings on it as well. But, you know, it's kind of a bit of a novelty. The only track on it that I really like is Etude. It's fantastic. There's a great video for that as well. It's not one I'd be listening to that much, but you know, it's a document of Mike doing a movie soundtrack. Right, next up is The Complete, Mike Oldfield. This is a compilation from 1985. That's not a bad one either. Got 2 LPs in there, and the first one deals with instrumental singles: Arrival, Indulce, Jubilo, Portsmouth, Jungle Gardenia, Guilty, Blue Peter, Wahlberg the Peak, Wonderful Land, Etude. Some versions have William Tell Overture as well. The second side is singles that were songs: Moonlight Shadow, Family Man, Mistake, 5 Miles Out, Crime of Passion, To France, Shadow on the Wall. And the second LP has got excerpts from Amadone, Tubular Bells, Hergus Ridge, Incantations, and then The Killing Fields, Evacuation. And the final side has got live versions of Sheba, Mirage, Platinum, parts 1 to 4, and Mount Teedie. So yeah, this is really nice. This is really, really nice. There's plenty in here to read as well. Got these cool custom labels on the discs. Next up is Islands. Right, this is from 1987. I think it was released around September, October. It's okay. You've got one long side. Just sounds, it's like, you know, it sounds like it's all kind of a bit disjointed and it doesn't really go in a kind of coherent manner. The Wind Chimes Part 1, that's just synthesizers for about 2 minutes, and then you've got the longer piece, Wind Chimes Part 2. There's kind of chanting and stuff as well from Indonesia and stuff like that. Islands, that's a song with Bonnie Tyler on vocals. I wouldn't really be gone on it. Flying Start, that's a great one, I love that. It's my favourite track. It's got vocals by Kevin Ayers. North Point, vocals by Anita Hagerland. That was Mike's girlfriend at the time. They also did a single in 1985 with Ala Jones called Pictures in the Dark. That was never on any album, but I think it appears on some of the complete Mike Oldfield album compilations. I'm not sure. Great track, actually. It really is good. It's a pity it's not on this. Magic Touch, vocals by Jim Price, and The Time Has Come. There's an extra track on the CD as well. It says here Dolby SR spectral recording, so this is an analog recording. But it wouldn't be one of my favourites. I listen to it the odd time. Yeah, I think it was kind of the doldrum from Mike at the time, really. Earth Moving. Okay, I'm going to say it. This is not a great album. This is from 1989. Just all songs, and not very good ones at that. Yeah, all different people singing them as well. The album has a lack of identity. Some of the songs as well are really cheesy. Holy, that's one of the best tracks here. And that has Adrian Belew on vocals, would you believe it? I don't know how he managed to rope him in. Hostage, that's awful. Far Country, I like that one. That's not bad. Innocent. Sounds like a track from Madonna. And then Runaway Son. Sounds like something from a Toyota advert. See the Light. Again, that's a little bit like Discovery. A heavy grinding track. Earth Moving. Nah. Blue Night. Maggie Riley sings that. That's not bad. It's good. It would have fitted in again nicely on Islands. Nothing But Bridge to Paradise. They're kind of joined together. It's a long track. But this is, nothing to write home about. Yeah, it would definitely be my least favourite album by Mike from the Virgin years. Next is Amarok. This was released in 1990. This is a kind of a hark back to the Amadone days, really. Mike bought himself a Sony dash recorder, DASH, digital audio stationary head, and it was a fantastic machine at the time, very, very expensive. So he recorded the instruments through the desk into that machine and edited as he went, and there's some beautiful parts on it, but it's too long. It's all one piece. Well, on the CD it's all one piece. There's chanting on it, a little bit like Amadone, and a bit like Amadone and Incantations and stuff like that. But it's quite hard to listen to. The full hour. There's even the Margaret Thatcher impersonator near the end. It just drags on and on and on. I think it would have been better if it was, say, 20 minutes, and then some of the other pieces were divided into smaller pieces and with a bit more coherency. But that didn't happen. I think he was pissed off with Virgin at the time. There's even a Morse code around 15 or 16 minutes where it says "Fuck you, Richard Branson." On the vinyl here it says "The Beginning," but there's nothing on the other side, and it just says nothing. So there you go. That's Amarok. Some people love it. It sounds fantastic, but again, it's just a little bit too long, and it kind of. I loved it when it came out, when I bought it back in 1990, but I don't have the time now to listen to the whole thing. There's better stuff to be listening to. And finally we come to Heavens Open. This was his last one for Virgin. Now Virgin have released compilations after this. I think Elements came out in 1993. But anyway, this one, his name is even different on the cover. Michael Oldfield. It's really pissed off with Virgin. And he departs from Virgin with 5 songs on side A and Music from the Balcony on side 2. That's a pretty hodgepodge affair as well. Some nice little bits on it, but again, it's pretty hard going. Yeah, pretty hard going. Make, it's only okay. No Dream, that's a great track. Really is. Mike sings all the songs on this as well, by the way. Mr. Shame, it's only alright. Get Me Back is a kind of a reggae track. Heavens Open is a rocker on it. But not a great ending to his Virgin years, let's be totally honest. Yeah. But that's it. That's Michael Oldfield. They're the Virgin years, 1973 to 1991. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to subscribe, press the like button, and thanks for watching.